Well, hey now, welcome to Fitz's Electric Bar. I'm going to do something that all of you guys are doing, have been doing for quite a while, and it's my first one, and it's a ranking video, top ranking video, and the artist is Lou Reed. Lou Reed played a really special place in my life. I was listening to a lot of 70s classic rock, Aerosmith, Foghat, Bad Company, Led Zeppelin, stuff like that. Nothing wrong with that. But around the same time, cousin Dave, older cousin, shared a couple, I don't remember if it was both of these, but shared Lou Reed's Transformer with Mick and I and John, and the three cousins, we got into that album big time. Right around the same time, it was Roxy Music. I don't remember if Dave was responsible for that or I got that from somewhere else. But yeah, Transformer was transformative. I'll refer to this occasionally before I finally do the video, but a defining moment for me in terms of my love of music. And produced by David Bowie and Mick Ronson. Of course, Mick Ronson played guitar on with David Bowie and helped produce, I believe, Spiders from Mars, Ziggy Stardust. But yeah, Lou Reed Transformer was for me just fabulous. And of course, it's known for its single "Walk on the Wild Side," and it is a really good single. But there's so much on that record which is really, really good, and that opened up a whole new world to me. I don't know if I could have gotten into David Bowie. I think followed Lou Reed for me, and Iggy Pop and all those things. And there's a through line. I guess Bowie is the through line in many ways for all those artists. But there's a great picture, I should see if I can find it, but of Lou Reed, Iggy Pop, and David Bowie you might have seen. And it looks like they're all kind of crazed, especially Iggy. But that album opened up a lot for me, and I became a lifelong fan of Lou Reed. Probably ended up seeing Lou Reed almost as much as anybody. I'm guessing 8 or 9 times, probably. Elvis Costello more, and these days, because they're still touring, I've seen Luna many, many times. But Lou has always held a very special place in my heart, and I followed his career. So with Transformer, I went back and got into the Velvet Underground, into earlier stuff from his career, and followed him for years. I'll admit towards the end of his career, I wasn't following him all that closely. I did not hear the album he did with Metallica. It seemed to get a lot of hate, but it doesn't usually stop me from, listening to music that I like from artists that I really like. So, but I didn't listen to that. I really only gave cursory listen to Songs for Drella, which was an album kind of tribute to Andy Warhol. It was so important for the Velvet Underground, and a venture that was with Lou Reed and John Cale together. I listened to it a little bit, but I had a hard time getting into it. And I will admit, very late career, Lou Reed, I was finding it harder and harder to really enjoy his music. I think vocally he was his voice was getting worse and worse, but, Lou's really always been a poet, and there weren't many years where he was singing with a really sweet voice, and it was almost kind of talk singing, right? But yeah, the later stuff, I found it harder to find an entrance into that music just because it was felt not, I don't know if atonal is the right word, but just not something that I was really loving, both the songs, but also the vocals, his vocals. But I am going to do a ranking, and I'm going to go through the albums. I'm just looking here at his collection of music. Next up, I am going to give you a ranking of my top 10 Lou Reed albums. I haven't got a budget for sound effects, so that's mine. Carpe diem, motherfuckers. See you in a moment. So, the Lou Reed rankings, my favorite top 10 albums. Always like to go back to the High Fidelity quote, or sort of pseudo quote, which was that the list may change from day to day. But gives you a rough idea of my favorite 10 Lou Reed albums. One little correction that I mentioned earlier, I may or may not edit out of this and pop this in, but Lou did 7 albums between 1972 and 1975. So between 4 and 5 year stretch, he put out 7 records, and those included his self-titled record, Transformer, Berlin, Rock and Roll Animal, Sally Can't Dance, Metal Machine Music, and Coney Island Baby. Yeah, between 72 and 75. That's an incredible amount of output. So, and I'm looking at my list here, and I've got a lot from those first few years on my list. But let's not get ahead of ourselves now, shall we? Number 10, Lou Reed's my personal top 10. Sally Can't Dance. Little explanation, I did lose a lot of my R's, including Rolling Stones and Lou Reed, in a unfortunate water damage incident. So I'm pulling from a really nice box set of remastered work that Lou Reed oversaw before his passing. And this is one of the CDs from that, Sally Can't Dance. So Sally Can't Dance was in 1974. It's a little bit campy. There's some really good songs on here, though. Ride Sally Ride is really good. New York Stars, They're Gonna Kill Your Sons, in the title track. And actually, Billy is a beautiful ballad, with a really nice saxophone part. So yeah, this is a nice record. Sally Can't Dance. I think it was lambasted by the critics when it came out. Probably just a little too campy for them, but it is a very good record. So number 10, Lou Reed's Sally Can't Dance from 1974. Number 9, this one got a lot of positive praise from the critics, Street Hassle. This one, Street Hassle, came out, what was Street Hassle? 1978. So it's interesting. It was sort of just when, Lou Reed, like Iggy Pop, is considered to be one of the forefathers of punk, with his work with the Velvet Underground. And this record wasn't so much punk, but it was definitely a very interesting record. So first of all, the actual way it was produced had a so-called stereo binaural sound recording. This title track, Street Hassle, is a great song. Was covered later by Simple Minds as well. But very interesting album, kind of dark. One of the things about Lou Reed is that his voice underwent quite a big change over the years. And by the time he put out Street Hassle in 78, his voice was definitely rough, and that was part of his charm, I suppose. But if you listen to things like, Transformer, Sally Can't Dance, Coney Island Baby, he definitely had a sweeter, more melodic voice. But he used it to very good effect, his kind of more raspy, more guttural kind of vocal delivery, and spoken vocals as much as sung vocals. He was speaking, and being somewhat of a poet as well, it seemed to suit the music well. So Street Hassle, 1978 Street Hassle, coming in at number 9. Number 8, which for me, this album at one time would have been one of my top ones. I don't know why, but I maybe overplayed it. It kind of diminished a little bit in my estimation over time, but it is definitely still a very strong record. So New York, this is actually the reissue that Rhino put out, and it's got a lot of good stuff on it. But the original album, New York, if there is ever an artist who epitomized New York, it's Lou Reed. Anybody who knows about him would know that to be true. And this album is really great. Romeo Had Juliet, Dirty Boulevard, which is a really strong song, Busload of Faith, which is good. But there's something about Lou and everything that he does that just screams New York. And of course, then he put out an album called New York. Got to see him play this album in its entirety at Roy Thompson Hall in Toronto, which is kind of like usually a classical music venue. And that was very good. But Lou Reed's New York coming in at number 8. Most of my selections, I would say, are before geez, I guess most of my selections would be in the early 80s, I think, up to 84. But there is one exception, and that's Magic and Loss. This record after a death of a close friend, I don't know who exactly, but really strong record, lyrically and musically. Yeah, the track What's Good, Sword of Damocles is awesome as well. Lyrically, very, very strong. What's good? What's good about cancer? There's nothing good. Yeah, there's the lyrics in this are really outstanding. So Magic and Loss is really, really good. And that, Magic and Loss, was 1991. And that is, for me, my 7th in my ranking of top 10 Lou Reeds. Next one, the first of 2 live records that I have in my top 10. Lou always was an interesting live performer, very erratic. Sometimes his shows were great. Sometimes they were just horrible. He would be known to abuse the crowd or treat them with contempt. And this album has got lots of that. And he is both brilliant and a little bit on the dark, dour side as well. But he interacts. Lou is talking through much of this more than singing. And he's very funny, and he has some great interactions with the crowd. And he's, yeah, definitely rough around the edges. A great live record, live and dangerous. Yeah, just got to listen to it. So Live and Dangerous, Take No Prisoners. And Take No Prisoners is my number 6 record in my Lou Reed top 10. Followed by the other live record, a very different experience, and this is Rock and Roll Animal. This one was recorded in 1974 and got Dick Wagner on guitar and Steve Hunter on guitar. The opening of this, there's an intro and Into Sweet Jane. It's very straight ahead rock and roll. It is just a fabulous intro to the song Heroin. Into the song Sweet Jane. And they do Heroin after that. But it's very, very straight ahead traditional rock and roll. It's not like Take No Prisoners, which is almost like an art piece, you know. But this still holds up just brilliantly. Beautiful. The whole record sounds great. Crowd's really into it. It's a great live record. Rock and Roll Animal. Coming in at my number 5, done in 1974, Lou Reed. Number 4, from my personal, one of my personal favorites, Coney Island Baby. This very personal sounding, stripped down. It's got both the frenetic, stuff like kicks, also very funny tunes like A Gift, I'm Just a Gift to the Women of the World. Charlie's Girl, Crazy Feeling, which is really good. And then the beautiful ballad, the title track, Coney Island Baby. Really one of the great ballads of all time, not just for Lou Reed, but of anybody, I think. This is a really incredible album. Coney Island Baby, 1975. And that's my number 4 in the Lou Reed rankings. Next one, a very positive record for Lou, and I got to see him. I did one of my things on a Lou Reed live poetry reading with Jim Carroll, and he read a lot of the lyrics off of this particular record, and I got to see him at Kingswood Music Theater, or Kingswood Music outdoor place outside Toronto. But New Sensations, this one actually I've always really liked, and I still play it a lot to this day. I find this to be a really upbeat, great record. High in the City, the title track, New Sensations. I Love You, Suzanne, which was a single from this record. Really solid record from Lou. Great band and really catchy hooks, very catchy stuff. So New Sensations, my number 3 from Lou Reed. For those of you, one of the things I love about these rankings is that when I watch other people do them, I'm just sitting there going, yes when they have the same kind of favorites as I do. And you can probably guess when you're getting down to the last two, I'm not going to be saying Legendary Hearts or Mistrial. It's going to be one of those other two that you must expect. And these two actually came out one of them came out in, one of them came out in 72, one of them in 73. So Transformer, I've mentioned before, it's got Walk on the Wild Side, but it's got so much other great stuff. Andy's Chest, Perfect Day, which has become kind of a standard now of sorts. Silly stuff as well, like Wagon Wheel and New York Conversation. Vicious, Andy's Chest, Perfect Day, Hanging Around, and Walk on the Wild Side. That is a very strong side of music. Second side, maybe a little bit weaker, Makeup, Wagon Wheel, New York Telephone Conversation. But I'm So Free, Satellite of Love, really, really good. Good night, ladies. So the first side of this record is about as good as any other record I own. Lou Reed, Transformer, produced by David Bowie and Mick Ronson, and their backup vocals of Bowie on here are very prominent and really, really cool. This is a great record. So you can probably guess, number one is one of the saddest records ever made. And if you know me by now, if you don't know me by now, you know I like sad music. And it's, of course, Berlin. This record was considered a pariah. I mean, it did not get good reviews when it first came out. And in a way, there's no wonder, because this is a very dark, dark record. I would argue a very beautiful record, but it's a piece of art, really, in the end. And I think it was recognized as such later when there was a stage production or a kind of theatrical performance of this that I think Julian Schnabel did the direction for. I always regret not going to New York and seeing that. I think it was just played in New York, or it was just performed in New York. But Lou was very proud that it got its due and was performed there. Berlin, when I was feeling a little grim in my days of discontent in my youth, this was the album I would reach for and go deeper into the abyss. The lyrics on this are incredible. I'll just read you a couple bits. Caroline says as she gets up off the floor, "Why is it that you beat me? It isn't any fun." And the bed, this is the place where she lay her head when she went to bed at night, and this is the place our children were conceived. Candles in the lit the room brightly at night, and this is the place where she cut her wrists that odd and fateful night. Now, this came with a booklet, and I don't know if you can see it, but there's blood on the bed, and there's actually red, a little bit of red, of blood just sitting. It's a sepia tone photo, but there's some blood on the razor there. But there's little bits of red and everything in the images. So it came with a nice little booklet. This is an OG, I believe. I have had this since the 70s. It's a really nice book of lyrics, and it really gets its due. And it's nice to see that it's getting the attention that it should. But number one for me in the Lou Reed catalog has to be Berlin. Not for the faint of heart, certainly, but fabulous stuff. So that's it for the Lou Reed ranking. Subscribe, like. We'll see you guys later. See you on the flip side.